The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Lal Malavarachi and read by Tilani Pires. The President says that Sri Lanka will become the first country to be free of chemical fertilizer. 1,077 people were tested positive for the coronavirus in Sri Lanka so far today. The Army Commander General Shavendra Silva says there is no preparation to lock down the country. The salary of armed forces personnel and police officers who died during the terrorist war is to be paid to their widows for lifetime. Sri Lanka Railways has suspended several intercity trains with effect from the 1st of May. President Biden pleads for unity, warns of Chinese threat in speech to Congress. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has stated that he will take up the challenge in making Sri Lanka the first country in the world to eliminate the use of chemical fertilizers without reversing any of the steps that have been taken. The absence of any country in the world that has eliminated the use of chemical fertilizers is not an obstacle to achieving the goal, President Rajapaksa noted. The President urged all to unite to educate the farmer and create a healthy generation at a discussion held at the Presidential Secretariat today to raise awareness on the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides and herbicides and the ban on such imports. The President said the government must guarantee the right of the people to a non-toxic diet to produce a healthy and productive citizen. President Rajapaksa pointed out that despite the huge expenditure on chemical fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides, there has been no qualitative increase in agricultural production, adding that the soil infertility has led to declining yields and the loss of biodiversity. 1,077 people were tested positive for the coronavirus in Sri Lanka so far today. The National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreak, NOCPCO, said that with the latest surge, the country's caseload now stands at 106,030. Meanwhile, the recoveries count climbed to 95,445 after 362 individuals who were infected with the virus were discharged from the medical care earlier today. According to the statistics, 9,924 active cases are still under medical care at designated hospitals and treatment centres. Sri Lanka has also witnessed 661 fatalities due to the outbreak of the pandemic. The head of the National Operations Centre to prevent the spread of COVID-19, Army Commander General Shavendra Silva says there is no preparation to lock down the country. However, he said that certain places with the risk of the coronavirus spread would be isolated. The Army Commander, during a media briefing in Colombo today, said that prior information cannot be given on such places. Army quarantine centres have also been turned into intermediate treatment centres. He further said that if necessary, tourist hotels would be converted into treatment centres. Although the number sent for quarantine increased daily, the Army has necessary facilities. Steps have been taken to increase the capacity of hospitals. Therefore, he requested the people not to entertain unnecessary fears that there will be insufficient facilities to treat corona patients. He further requested the public not to get misled by false propaganda. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The government has decided to grant the salary of armed forces personnel and police officers who died during the terrorist war to the widows of them for lifetime. The cabinet has given the necessary approval. Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne said that the widow will get a total of the salary and the allowances when he completes 55 years. Apart from that, parents of married and unmarried armed forces members and police officers who have died will get a monthly allowance of 25,000 rupees for life from the day he completes 55 years. The Defence Secretary said that the dependents of armed forces personnel and police officers who left the service due to disability following terrorist activities will get the salaries and allowances for their lifetime. The Director General of Health Services, Dr. Asela Gunawardene, announced that all religious congregational activities will be prohibited until further notice due to the prevailing COVID-19 situation in the country. Meanwhile, the maximum number of persons allowed to gather at any place of worship has been reduced to 25 until further notice. Previously, the maximum number of persons allowed at religious places had been 50. Issuing a media release, the DG of Health Services states that based on the risk of the current COVID-19 situation, amendments have been made to the restrictions on activities of religious places of worship. It said that the Ministry of Health has decided to further control the public gatherings due to the increase in the number of daily COVID-19 cases. That ends the local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Sri Lanka Railways has decided to suspend several intercity trains with effect from the 1st of May as prior ticket reservations are minimal due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Accordingly, Colombo Fort Badulla, Colombo Fort Kandy, Kandy Colombo Fort, Colombo Fort Kankasanture, Kankasanture Colombo Fort, Colombo Fort Polonnaruwa, Colombo Fort Kankasanture and Colombo Fort Beliatta trains have been cancelled. Passengers who have reserved tickets for the Colombo Fort Badulla train and Badulla Colombo Fort train will be facilitated seats in other two trains on the same day. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on with Watchlight, tonight Sri Lanka has temporarily suspended Friday Jummah prayers, special Ramadan prayers and all congregational activities in all mosques in the country, while only allowing a maximum of 25 persons for the 5-time daily prayers. The Muslim Religious and Cultural Affairs Department said in a circular issued today that in view of the rapid spread of COVID-19 infections, the Waqufs Board took this decision on the advice of the country's health authorities. All special prayers and congregational activities during the ongoing Ramadan month have thus been suspended, the statement said. That came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
the best discount in this Urdu season, People's Leasing Polywasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this Urdu season. Call 011-206300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
World News headlines first. President Biden pleads for unity, warns of Chinese threat in speech to Congress. China launches main part of its first permanent space station. 114-year-old Nebraska woman becomes the oldest living American. President Joe Biden proposed a sweeping new $1.8 trillion plan in a speech to a joint session of Congress on Wednesday, pleading with Republican lawmakers to work with him on divisive issues and to meet the stiff competition posed by China. Pushing a vision of more government investment funded by the wealthy, the Democratic president urged Republicans, who have so far resolutely opposed him, to help pass a wide array of contentious legislation from taxes to police reform to gun control and immigration. Republicans largely sat silently during the speech, while Democrats applauded as Biden spoke. China today launched the main module of its first permanent space station that will host astronauts long-term, the latest success for a program that has realized a number of its growing ambitions in recent years. The Tihani, or Heavenly Harmony module, blasted into space atop a Long March 5B rocket from the Wenchang Launch Center on the southern island province of Hainan, marking another major advance for the country's space exploration. The launch begins the first of 11 missions necessary to complete supply and crew the station by the end of next year. A 114-year-old Nebraska woman has taken the title of America's oldest living person, says what she wants most is to eat with her friend after a year of pandemic restrictions. Thelma Sutcliffe of Omaha became the nation's oldest living person and 7th oldest in the world on April 17th, when Hester Ford, a 115-year-old woman, died in North Carolina, according to the Gerontology Research Group. The Omaha World Herald reports that Sutcliffe was born on October 1st, 1906. Her longtime friend Luella Lou Mason said she is happy that the senior living center where Sutcliffe's life is locked down, but Thelma is as determined as ever to do what she wants to do. Back to the world news headlines. President Biden pleads for unity, warns of Chinese threat in speech to Congress. China launches a main part of its first permanent space station. 114-year-old Nebraska woman becomes the oldest living American. That ends World News.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
The best discount in this Urdu season, People's Leasing Polywasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this Urdu season. Call 011 206 300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
On development news, Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said natural, cultural, historical and archaeological assets of tourist destinations across the country should be preserved when infrastructure facilities are developed in those areas. The minister instructed the relevant officials to pay their utmost attention in this regard when the infrastructure facilities are improved in island-wide tourist destinations when the annual development plan of the Tourism Ministry is implemented this year. The minister said the government has allocated 519 million rupees to implement the various tourist development projects this year. A sum of 37 million rupees has been allocated to develop tourist destinations across the country this year. That came to you in development news. Coming up, sports news. India's top umpire Nitin Menon and his Australian counterpart Paul Rifle have pulled out of the IPL due to personal reasons. It is learnt that Menon, a resident of Indore, left the IPL bio bubble after his wife and mother tested positive for COVID-19. Menon is the only Indian on the ICC elite panel of umpires and was recently praised for his work during India's home series against England. In Rifle's case, the Australian government's imposition of a travel ban on flights to and from India in the wake of the rising COVID-19 cases led to him being unable to leave the bubble after initial information suggested that he has made the move. That was sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's premier private sector bank, HNB PLC, partnered with leading automotive experts Dimo, one of Sri Lanka's leading conglomerates, offer an exclusive range of leasing packages for tractors from Mahindra and Swaraj, as well as harvesters from Claas and Lowell brands. HNB Chief Credit Officer Nirosh Pereira said that enhancing agricultural productivity in Sri Lanka is a key national priority. Therefore, they are delighted to renew long-standing relationship with Dimo to offer their loyal customers in the agricultural sector with the access to the best equipment at the most competitive prices on the market. That ends Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
People's Bank showcased its digital banking prowess yesterday again by completing a mammoth 5.8 million transactions and dispensing 65.3 billion rupees from the 1st of April to the 15th of April this year. This includes transactions completed via banks' internet banking, mobile apps, ATMs, CDMs and kiosks. People's Bank has been at the forefront of providing digital financial services to the rural areas of the country and has gained unparalleled success in turning Sri Lanka into a digital society. The bank pioneered self-banking units, SBUs, which was a concept that consisted of ATMs, CDMs and kiosks, which allowed customers to bank at their convenience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The self-banking unit concept has been a colossal success for People's Bank. That came to you in economic news. And now to conclude the weather report, the Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the central, Sabaragamuwa, southern, Uva, north central and eastern provinces and in Vavuniya and Mullaitivu districts during the evening or night. Showers will occur in the western and southern coastal areas. Fairly heavy rainfall, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in the Uva, central and southern provinces and in the Batticaloa and Ampara districts. That was the weather report. And now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. The President says Sri Lanka will become the first country to be free of chemical fertilizer. 1,077 people were tested positive for coronavirus in Sri Lanka so far today. The Army Commander General Shavendra Silva says there is no preparation to lock down the country. The salary of armed forces personnel and police officers who died during terrorist war is to be paid to their widows for lifetime. Sri Lanka Railways has suspended several intercity trains with effect from the 1st of May. President Biden pleads for unity, warns of Chinese threat in speech to Congress. That ends this news broadcast, and now it's back to my friend and colleague, as usual on a Thursday night, Soundi Thavam. Back to you, Soundi.